Babaji, is close proximity to the master, is this good karma or his grace?
Familiarity breeds contempt. You see, sometimes when you are too close, uh, the tendency of the mind is to analyze. So we start analyzing all that he says, he does, and many times we can't understand. And so when you are too close, when the moth gets too close to the fire, he can get burnt.
Thank you, Babaji.
Okay. May I ask you to talk a little bit to us about Bhog Juniya and Karam Juniya?
You see, when we talk about the circle of 84, as per the Vedas, it is divided into two. When God created, as per the Hindu concept or the Vedic concept, when the Lord created the creation, He created, then He created 84,100,000 species. And then He divided them into two. One being Karamjuni and the other Bhogjuni. So, Bhogjuni is one who are paying off karmas. They are not creating karmas. And Karamjuni is one who's paying as well as creating karmas. So you look at it that when somebody has some specific, let's say, quantity of karmas, accordingly he will be given birth in a particular species. Now that species has its load of karmas. So after he has gone through that, he will evolve to the next. When they have gone through the karmas of that, they will evolve to the next. So it's a ladder. You are climbing up a ladder. As you are paying off, you are becoming lighter and you are going upwards. And then at a certain time with His grace, you evolve from the Bhog Juni. So accepting human being, everybody is Bhog Juni, including the celestial so-called beings that we talk about, Bhog Junis. You evolve to the Karam Juni. Now what is the difference between Karam Juni and Bhog Juni? That in Karam Juni you have Vivek, you have sense of discrimination. Bhog Juni, they react to things. In Karam Juni you are supposed to think, you are supposed to discern, be objective and go forward. So in Karam Juni you are creating as well as paying off. And it is only in Karam Juni that you can achieve salvation. Bhog Juni can't. Bhog Juni has to evolve into Karam Juni to be able to get salvation. So they are paying off, here you are paying as well as creating. Now in Karam Juni, if you have come and your load of karmas you have created to that extent where your burden becomes so heavy, you can go down the ladder. It's like you've climbed up the ladder, you're at the last step, you sacrifice a little, you don't need the ladder anymore. You've gone beyond it. But even at the last step, if you have a footfall, you don't know where you're going to get that support and at what rung of the ladder you reach. So in Bani, Guru Sahib says, Lakh Chorasi Joon Sabai, Manish ko prab di vadiyai. Is paudi te jo nar chuke, so aaye jaye dukh payenda. That in the circle of 84, the topmost is the human being. Manas ko prabdi vadiyai. Okay? He has got that status. Is paudi te. So he's giving the example of the ladder that we've climbed up the ladder, but if you slip at this juncture, you don't know where you are going to get support, in which juni you are going to go. So you will have to come back and go through the circle of birth and death, of happiness and sorrow. So aaye jaye dukh payenda, you'll have to come again and again.
So Babaji, if we had any idea of the scale of that, it would really affect how we
Well,
live our
I mean,
lives.
if you look at it, if you want to get into the calculative mode, 84,100,000 species. So means that if you have gone through each species, that means you've got human birth after 84,100,000 years. Okay? And now we also know that there are many, trees and plants whose age is 100 years. So you can't even calculate that after, what we have gone through, what pain and suffering we have gone through to achieve this status. And having come to this status, we take it for granted.
Or we don't know it. We don't understand it.
I think we all understand. It's not that we don't know good and bad. It's just that we take things for granted and we think that it will happen to others and not to us.
Thank you, Babaji.
Huzur, what is the difference between love and attachment?
Love helps you to mature. Attachment pulls you down. You see, we discussed before also, love, we really don't know what love is. Love is something which is beyond our understanding. Love, you have to learn to give. There's a beautiful note from Krishnamurti where he says that it's difficult to explain or to understand love. But we can definitely talk about what is not love. Love is a positive quality. When we say we love somebody, we become jealous, we don't want to share, we become possessive, and these are negative traits. And that is not love. So love is something that elevates you. Love is something that takes you beyond the physical. So we are actually trying through the spiritual process to open ourselves to love. As most of us are programmed, so we are just experiencing a certain aspect of that love. Until you really don't open yourself out totally, you can't experience love.
Thank you, sir.
ਹਜ਼ੂਰ ਦੋ ਬੇਨਤੀਆਂ ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੜਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ 84 ਲੱਖ ਯੋਨੀਆਂ 'ਚੋਂ ਇਵੋਲਵ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਦੇ ਜਾਮੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ। ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਭੁਲੇਖਾ ਖਾ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਕਈ ਲੋਕ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਵੋਲਵ ਕਰਕੇ ਮਨੁੱਖ ਦੇ ਜਾਮੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਗਏ, ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਰਮ ਭੋਗ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਦੇ ਜਾਮੇ 'ਚ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ। ਮੇਰੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਦਾ ਜਾਮਾ ਮਿਲ ਵੀ ਗਿਆ ਮਾਲਕ ਦੀ ਅਪਾਰ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ, ਸਿੰਚਿਤ ਕਰਮਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੁਝ ਹਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਬੈਲੈਂਸ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ।
ਦੇਖੋ, ਆਪਾਂ ਸਿੰਚਿਤ ਪ੍ਰਲਬਧ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਇਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹੈ। ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਮ ਕਾਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ। ਕਰਮ ਕਾਂਡ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਰਮ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੈ। ਸਰੀਰ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈ ਕਰਮ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਆਪਾਂ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਸੀ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਮਾੜੇ ਸੀ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਉੱਠਦੇ ਇਹ ਚੱਕਰ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਰਹੂ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਕਰਮ ਜੋ ਜੋ ਕਰੇਗਾ ਤੂੰ ਵਹੀ ਫਿਰ ਭੋਗ ਨਾ ਭਰਨਾ। ਤਾਂ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਭੁਗਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਰਮ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਸਰੀਰ 'ਚ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਬੈਠੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਮਗਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਮਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਉੱਠਣਾ ਜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੁਕਤੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਕਿ ਚੰਗੇ ਕਰਮ ਮਾੜੇ ਕਰਮ, ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਪੁੰਨਦਾਨ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੀ ਕਹਾਵਤ ਹੈ ਤਪੋ ਰਾਜ ਰਾਜੋ ਨਰਕ। ਕੋਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਪੁੰਨਦਾਨ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗੇ ਕਰਮ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਚੰਗੇ ਕਰਮ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਰਾਜਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਆ ਜਾਊਗਾ। ਰਾਜਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਇੰਦਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਭੋਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਫਿਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਦੇਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ। ਤਾਂ ਚੱਕਰ ਤਾਂ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਬਾਣੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਪੁੰਨ ਦਾਨ ਜਪ ਤਪ ਜੇਤੇ ਸਭ ਉੱਪਰ ਨਾਮ, ਹਰ ਹਰ ਰਸਨਾ ਜੋ ਜਪੇ ਤਿਸ ਪੂਰਨ ਕਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਭ ਭਗਤੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਤਲੀ ਭਗਤੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਨਾਮ ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ, ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ। ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਸ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੱਗਾਂਗੇ, ਭਜਨ ਬੰਦਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੱਗਾਂਗੇ, ਫਿਰ ਬਾਣੀ 'ਚ ਆਪ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੈ ਜਹਾਂ ਨਾਮ ਮਿਲੇ ਤਹਾਂ ਜਾਓ, ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ਾਦੀ ਕਰਮ ਕਮਾਓ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਨਾਮ ਦੀ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਕਮਾਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਰਮਾਂ ਦਾ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਸਿਰਫ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਹੈ। ਸ਼ਬਦ ਕਰਮ ਕੀ ਰੇਖ ਕਟਾਏ, ਸ਼ਬਦ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਸੇ ਜਾਈ ਮਿਲਾ। ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਾ। ਬਾਕੀ ਕਰਮ ਕਾਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸੇ ਰਵਾਂਗੇ, ਚੰਗੇ ਕਰਮ ਮਾੜੇ ਕਰਮ, ਉਹ ਡੈਬਿਟ ਐਂਡ ਕ੍ਰੈਡਿਟ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਰਹੂਗਾ।
ਸਿੰਚਿਤ ਕਰਮ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਤਾਂ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ।
ਦੇਖੋ, ਆਪਾਂ ਖਤਮ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਮ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਉਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਲੈ ਲੈਂਦਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਚੁੱਕ ਲੈਂਦਾ। ਸੋ ਇਨ ਅ ਸਿੰਪਲ ਮੈਨਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਸਮਝ ਲਈਏ, ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਕਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਚੰਗੇ ਕਰਮ ਮਾੜੇ ਕਰਮ ਸਾਡੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ। ਮਗਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਸ਼ਰਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ, ਵੈਨ ਵੀ ਵਿਲ ਸਰੈਂਡਰ, ਉਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਲੈ ਲੈਂਦਾ, ਸਾਡੀ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਿਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਲੈ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਅਵਸਥਾ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ।
ਦੂਸਰਾ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ਨ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ, ਇੱਕ ਪਰਮਾਰਥੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਦੇ ਚਰਨੀ ਲੱਗ ਕੇ ਕਰਨੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੱਗਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੀਆਂ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਆ 3 ਸਟੇਜ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ। ਇੱਕ ਸਬਰ ਹੈ, ਫਿਰ ਸੰਤੋਖ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਫਿਰ ਸ਼ੁਕਰ ਹੈ। ਮੇਰੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤਿੰਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨ ਕਰੋ।
ਸਰੈਂਡਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜੀ। ਸਬਰ ਸੰਤੋਖ ਇਜ਼ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਪੇਸ਼ੈਂਸ, ਔਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਭਾਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਰ ਮੱਥੇ ਮੰਨਣਾ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਭਾਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਔਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਭਾਣੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹੇ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਰਕ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ। ਦੁੱਖ ਸੁੱਖ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਸਮ ਕਰ ਜਾਣ ਔਰ ਮਾਨ ਅਪਮਾਨ, ਫਿਰ ਕਾਹਦਾ ਫਰਕ ਰਿਹਾ? ਫਿਰ ਤਾਂ ਪਰਖ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੀ। ਫਿਰ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਉਹਦਾ ਭਾਣਾ ਮੰਨ ਕੇ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਮਾਲਕ ਨੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਚੰਗਾ ਹੀ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਫਿਰ ਫਰਕ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ। ਤਾਂ
ਸਬਰ ਦੇ ਦਾਇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੰਤੋਖ 'ਚ ਆ ਗਏ।
ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ, ਦੈਟ ਇਜ਼ ਸਰੈਂਡਰ। ਯੂ ਹੈਵ ਟੂ ਸਰੈਂਡਰ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
In life, we all struggle to make decisions. And how do we know on the path that we are trying to make the right choices in life?
Well, one learns through experience. I don't think so anybody is born with that level of maturity where he knows everything. So this process of life is like an awakening, where every day we experience something, and that experience teaches us good, bad, So nobody knows. We have to go through our experiences. Experience teaches the young to be old and the old to be young. So as a general thumb rule, anything that takes us towards our objective, the Lord, that's good. Anything that takes us away from the objective, we should try and avoid.
But if our intentions have been right and the decision we have taken doesn't work for the other person, how should we view that?
Any decision you take is never going to work for everybody. You see, your experience of life is very different from the other's experience of life. One man's food can be another man's poison. One medicine that suits you will not suit everybody. They can have a reaction to that. So, from our point of view, whatever experience has taught us, and whatever we think is right, we take a decision, we have to move on, but that does not necessarily mean that everybody is going to agree with that decision and it's going to suit everybody. So we should not put our foot down. We put forward what we think is right, then try and listen to the other person, see what his experience has taught him or what his point of view is, and then try and come to a common ground.
My second question, Babaji, is how do you differentiate between a satisfied life versus a successful life?
I don't know what is success. Today, the measure of success has got changed. In good old days, success was that, if people respected you and you stood by your ideals, by your viewpoints, and you were very respected, man. Today, it's changed. Today, we see money, we see wealth, everything is measured in terms of materialistic things. So satisfaction is not going to come from these things. They only whet the appetite, they only make you more hungry for more. Satisfaction has to come from inside. when you come to terms with yourself. And if you are at terms with yourself, you are happy with yourself, it doesn't make a difference what anybody says. And that has got nothing to do with how poor you are or how rich you are. Satisfied means learning to live in His will, and you accept. राज कराए ता तेरी उपमा जे भीख मंगाए ता क्या कट जाए. He can put you on top, He can pull you down, you accept it. ठीक है, if He wants, this is what He wants, I'm happy.
Babaji, is it really truly possible for the mind to make sacrifices till the time it is attached to self? For the mind is always seeking compensation for the sacrifices that it has made.
But that's because, again, like we've programmed the mind, na? So, the way you program it, the mind is going to behave like that. It is not that the mind was always like this. That is why the mystics try and explain to us that what you have made of the mind was not like that. मन तू ज्योत स्वरूप है, अपना मूल पहचान. So Guru Sahib is saying, recognize your true self. Mind was not such a calculative piece that you have made it into. So our impressions, the way our interaction, we've created this programming within ourselves of calculating everything. So we have to deprogram and reprogram into what is the right thing to do, to be more objective in life, rather than just putting everything into calculation.
Thank you.
Babaji, what would you say should be a constant endeavor, of course, to do our meditation, but sometimes we just don't, we lack that, what shall I say, we just lack that moment where we can actually sit, and sometimes we're not able to sit. How should we bring about consistency in our meditation, Babaji?
Well, it comes from the question that she just asked about the mind. You see, mind is a very strong entity. Unless mind doesn't feel a need for something, it's not going to make the sacrifice.
Ji.
Today, most of us don't feel the need. We take things for granted. All that we've been given, everything that He's blessed us with, we just take it for granted. But when you feel the need for something, you know, it's like somebody sees something nice in a shop and they want it. What do? They will put in every effort, they'll save, they'll ask for money and all to go and buy that thing. So today, we are at that stage where we really, He's given us everything and we take it for granted.
Ji.
How would you feel if your own children took you for granted? We made so many sacrifices for them, and if they took you for granted, and once a year or once a week they just rang you up and said hello, how would you feel? And aren't we taking the Lord for granted?
Ji.
He has given us everything. He's blessed us with everything. And rather than take out time to thank Him
Ji.
and be grateful, we say we don't have time. You have time for the world, you have time for others, you have time for everything excepting Him. Jahan asa tahan vasa.
Ji.
Now in the end, whatever your thoughts have been, wherever you have been focused on, that's what's going to come in front of you. And if it's the world you've been focusing on, then you're going to come back to this world.
Ji.
So unless you don't shift your focus from worldly aspects to the Lord, how can you expect to go back home?
Ji. Babaji, despite our trying, sometimes we just can't concentrate. We find it.
Nobody's asked you to concentrate.
Ji.
Maharaji used to say, whether your mind is there or not there, sit down.
Ji.
Okay? Do meditation because your master wants you to do meditation, not from what you're going to get out of it. We start analyzing. Today it's a good day, tomorrow it's a bad day. It doesn't make a difference. Bade Maharaj used to say, Pame tusi sukh leke aao, dukh leke aao, aao ta sahi.
Ji.
Whether you come with your successes or your failures, come.
Ji. Does sitting at the same time every day, Babaji, make a difference?
It helps. I won't say that this thing, but it does help because you've created a certain time, association. It becomes easier to focus.
Thank you, Baba.
Babaji, could you help us understand the difference between religion and spirituality?
You start with spirituality. Spirituality is the core. So you start with spirituality. Spirituality is the essence. And as you go forward, as crowds become bigger, organizations are created, you create the four walls of religion. Actually, religion comes from the Latin word religare, which means to bind, where a group of people are bound together with a common objective. What is the common objective? God realization. Isn't that the objective of every religion? So then why are we separated?
Babaji, at different times I have seen teenagers, youngsters, they have some issue with one of the four conditions and they're not able to get around them. Especially sometimes people don't understand why it is not okay to have alcohol. I think non-vegetarian, a lot of people understand because there is a big karma attached to it. Of sometimes why it is said that you should always be with one partner, because today it's become so easy for people to move forward and try another relationship even if it is post marriage. Could you help us understand these four conditions a little better?
People's viewpoints in life can change. Circumstances around you can change. The weather can change. The law of morality cannot change. Okay. Now, yes, in today's youngsters, they want to go out, they want to sort of get to know each other before they take the final step. What do you see? I mean, it's a question of arranged marriage versus a love marriage. What is the percentage of love marriages that succeed versus arranged marriages? Now, in an arranged marriage, you are going into a union where you are ready that yes, we have to sort of keep a balance and we have to learn to respect each other. In a love marriage, you are already going with preconceived notions and nobody can live up to that expectation that you've created. When you meet each other, you go out dating and all, you're on your best behavior. Everybody's on his best behavior. When you get married, then you see the actual true person. You only realize the true person when you actually sort of living with him day and night. Otherwise, you're just seeing the face that they are putting on. So can you actually get to know? You can live with a person for 8-9 years and then that person does something and you look at, did you actually know that person? So in an arranged marriage, there is no expectation. You know that you have to make a go out of it. In a love marriage, there are a lot of expectations.
The issue with that, Babaji, usually is that people feel that they have been given all the relationships, the major relationships in their life to them. They have been, pre-decided for them. The only one that they feel they have and they can choose is marriage. And that seems to be the argument that comes across very often.
Can you? Can't you really choose? Did you choose?
I can't, Babaji, but people tend to say that.
But that's the thing, that all of us have this preconceived idea that in life you have a free choice. Do you actually have a free choice? The choices that you make today are based on certain factors, aren't they? Okay. Now, which country you were born in, the type of education you received, the parents that you had, kind, difficult, hard, traumatic, all these factors program you today. And none of these are in your hands. So what kind of free will are you talking about? Free will means that I have the freedom to choose. Means if I don't like you, I should have the freedom to hit you. But then that is encroaching on his freedom. No? So society has created norms, has social laws, where even that freedom is curtailed. You have to work within a certain structure. Freedom means that I can drive on any side of the road, but I can't. Because if I do that, then I'm going to have an accident. So social structures have been created, laws have been created. So working within a certain discipline will help you towards, the basic thing is maturity. Do we have that maturity to make the right decisions? And especially when we are young. In young, they say that early love, a little bit of curiosity, and a little bit of foolishness. That's early love. How many of us can sustain that? So I'm not against love marriages. But to say that, it should be love marriage and not arranged marriage, or arranged marriage or not love marriage, it depends upon the circumstances, the culture and everything. But never think that, you can sort of actually know a person just by meeting him a few times. You can't.
What about alcohol, Babaji?
Well, you've answered the question yourself. On one side you want freedom, and on the other side you take something which takes away your logic, your reasoning, everything. Then where is the freedom? On one side you want to be in control. On the other side you are taking something which takes away your control. It takes away your sense of reasoning. It takes away right and wrong. Isn't that a contradiction?
Babaji, people are looking at finding a way to relax. Can you give us some other alternative? How can we understand how to do that and not depend on these things?
Again comes back to alcohol and mind-altering drugs and all that. Keji, this relaxes the mind. But for how long? If my mind is at peace, if I'm at peace with everybody, I'm relaxed. But if I take alcohol, I get relaxed for 1 or 2 hours, and then in the morning do my problems go away? Along with my problems, I have a headache, and I also have other issues because I might have said something in that state to somebody who's taken it amiss. So what have I achieved? It's a fallacy that it makes you relax or it takes your problems away. Nothing goes away. It's still there. You do something that takes your problems away. You do something that makes you come to terms with yourself, which helps you to be at peace with yourself. Yeah, Naam Kumari Naan ka chadi rahe din raat.
Babaji, is it really possible to stop the mind from calculating? And if we do stop it, will we automatically find that stillness within?
You see, you've programmed the mind. Mind is impressionable. So this knowledge of ours, our upbringing, all this has programmed the mind. And that program is working in calculating. Okay? So like I said, we need to just eliminate everything. So today, everybody's mind, the moment somebody says something to us, consciously or subconsciously, the mind has gone into action to say this is good, bad, should I react, I should not react, has he said something nice, has he said something bad? It's automatic. Now, to be able to deprogram all that is going to take time. And that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to still it, where we are trying to be objective rather than reactive. Today, life is reactive. We have to be objective.
Babaji, Sardar Bahadur said, no man ever gained spiritual freedom by the process of logic. But on the other hand, we say we should use logic, questioning everything before we come onto the path and not follow blindly.
When you use logic to come onto the path, once you come onto the path,
so then
that's action.
Is this submission? No man ever gained spiritual freedom by the process of logic. Is this submission?
See, all of us come from a certain background. Okay, somebody is born in a Hindu family, Muslim family, Sikh family, Christian. We come from different backgrounds. It takes time for us to be able to relate to the philosophy. Because we are bound, like she said, mind is programmed, we are bound to look at it from a particular point of view. So to that extent, we need to use our logic and reasoning to be able to see what we are going to do, to be able to relate to that. Now, once you relate to that, then it has to be action. And once you take action, that action will help you rather than just knowledge. Initially, we were working on the basis of knowledge, using logic and reasoning. Then action means personal experience. And with the more personal experience you have, the more you realize how deficient we are of the unknown factor in our life, and we will never be able to do it. And then we start seeking His grace. And when you start seeking His grace, a beggar doesn't put terms and conditions. A beggar submits. He puts both his hands out to receive.
Thank you, Bobby.
बाबा जी, एक सत्संगी जो सारी जिंदगी संत मत के दायरे में रहा है और उसको अंत तक धुन न सुनाई पड़ी, तो उसका क्या होगा?
I don't think so. I want to answer that because I don't want to break anybody's. Dekho, the main thing is that the Shabad is there. Shabad doesn't increase or decrease. The light doesn't increase or decrease. What increases and decreases is your attentiveness. How attentive you are. If you are focused, whether you are initiated or not initiated, sometimes we think only initiated people can hear. It's got nothing to do with that. You can hear the Shabad the moment you are focused, even if you are not initiated. But however, initiation teaches us how to channelize that. If you are not initiated, you just think, what is this weird sound coming? Or you go to the doctor and say, I've got a problem in my ears. So initiation helps you to understand, to be attentive, to appreciate that state that you are in. But at the ending of the day, if you are not focused enough, then what have you achieved with your meditation? Which means it's like a child going to school but not learning. So I can go to school every day, but if I don't learn anything, will I pass? And I would say it's difficult to say that somebody's been doing meditation regularly and he is not hearing the sound. You see, we've created our own sense of what the sound should be. So when we are told you will hear a sound like this, not this, it's like this. Now depending upon the impressions you have on your mind, if you are a Westerner, you will hear some Western instruments. You are an Indian, you will hear something like that. Sound is there. And at some stage of our life, each one of us has heard it. I can 100% say that there's no person out here who is in the human body who has not heard the sound. But we may not be able to recognize it, or we were not attentive to it, or we didn't know what it was. So you just sort of moved on without appreciating it.
Thank you, Babaji.